Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT news, and with franchising just around the corner, many new updates on what might potentially happen going into next year. The M3C team rumoured to potentially be getting picked up by a rather surprising organisation, we shall see. But also Sinatraa saying that he does indeed still plan to return to professional play when franchising arrives. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. Thank you also for 23,000 subscribers, making great progress right now. 25k is just around the corner. If you haven't yet subscribed, have a look at the red button and think about it at the very least. This also from Zelsis. Free Zelsis, he says, was confirmed yesterday that indeed Zelsis was officially unbanned. So yeah, don't exactly know why he got banned still. But great news, all things considered, Zelsis officially is back in action. Now this also to mention because Champions, of course, is coming up. I believe it starts on the 31st of August, not too far from today. Now boot camps are of course going on. Now I thought honestly Ye was already out there because he tweeted like 2 days ago that he was getting out there to Poland, right, for the boot camp. But seemingly there's been an absolute mess with them actually getting there, and it's taken them almost like 2 days to actually arrive. He says made it to Poland yesterday after a 24-hour travel day with 8 different delays. So I'm guessing the flight was delays, like even once they landed, getting the luggage was delayed or something, getting the transfer was delays. I don't really know what's going on here, but finally they're boot camping, right? So they've got everything sorted out. They're in the boot camp, and they're getting ready to go, playing up against the best European teams they can find that they probably won't be playing at Champions, so they can get the best practice possible, right? And I do wonder whether this is kind of to a certain degree to try and break OpTic's European curse, because whenever they play a European team in general, things don't go so well for OpTic, and maybe playing a lot of them at the boot camp, right, will potentially break the curse. I suppose that's kind of what they're thinking at the very least. Of course, Asuna and 100 Thieves, they're also getting out there as well, Istanbul bound, so crazy to see everyone in the world right now flying out to Istanbul, or at least to, you know, relatively close to Istanbul to try and get some practice in. Like, yeah, OpTic have the boot camp prepared. The thing is with 100 Thieves and other teams that won the LCQs, they have less time to prepare something like that, right? You can't predict 100 Thieves you're going to win the LCQ. Those type of tournaments are so difficult to win, especially because they're all online and stuff. But I mean, look, they did win it in the end. They could, I guess, have prepared some sort of boot camp in advance, but that would have been very optimistic, right? That they're actually going to win it. They did win, but they haven't maybe quite got the same preparation level as OpTic might have going into this tournament, because I don't really think they're going to quite do a boot camp type thing. But still, Istanbul bound is indeed the case. Talking of Istanbul, this is the venue at the VW Arena, the Volkswagen Arena, as we saw yesterday. Now, people were talking about this, right, and saying, really, it's not the best venue. There's better venues down the road that have way more capacity. But, you know, again, right, that's the thing. They announced this stuff so late that even though it only has 5,000 seats, and they probably could have sold way more than that, to be honest, in maybe a different venue. But because they announced it so last minute, and people internationally will have such a hard time kind of sorting out and traveling for this, I mean, they still can be done. It's about a month or so until the date of the final. But, like, really, you want a 2-3 month lead time on stuff like this for people to figure it out. So still, I don't think it's great, but it's not the end of the world. At least it's a LAN event, right? So yeah, that's fantastic news at the end of the day. And this also, the playoff bracket is the only part that's going to have the live audience. So the group stages, going from 16 teams down to 8 teams to the GSL style groups, that's not going to be done in front of a crowd, but instead only the playoffs from September the 9th through to the 18th are going to be the ones that are played in front of a crowd. So yeah, if you guys want to go, this is where it is, and I'm sure ticket details and stuff I think are coming soon. They say, yeah, quickly working to finalize ticket purchasing info and stuff. So even then, you still can't even purchase tickets. So kind of classic stuff here, really. Let's talk about franchising, because this is a really interesting talking point actually with regard to the APAC scene. I believe Bo also mentioned the fact that like they were kind of bringing in, the APAC scene was bringing a lot of European players over the last couple of years or so, or last year really. And this season, apparently, it's pretty much just all going to be APAC guys. Now, apparently, organizations that were initially eliminated are now getting the chance to have an interview again, mainly because of the Oceania spot, which is now very much up for grabs, because the organization that was favored to get that spot, effectively like one spot in APAC goes to the Oceania region, and there was an organization called Order that's been around for quite some time that seemed to be pretty much nailed on to get that spot from the kind of Australian, New Zealand side of things. Turns out though, that organization basically went bankrupt like 2 days ago, and therefore they're probably not going to get any more, right? Their future is now uncertain as funding runs dry. If they can somehow scrape together some cash over the next few weeks or so, then maybe Riot still consider them. But yeah, kind of crazy, right? The last time you want to be running out of money is right before franchising happens, when you seem nailed on to get the spots. And it seems like they've effectively just gone insolvent and that they have no money left, and therefore Riot's going to be like, well, you know, we can't give the Oceania spot to them anymore. We're going to have to find another organization. So it's possible that, you know, an organization steps into this spot for the Oceania side of APAC and, you know, has to field the roster from that region potentially, right? That's an interesting thing. Organizations like T1 and others that may have been, you know, I think T1 is going to get in anyway, but other organizations potentially that wanted to get in for APAC but were rejected and now like, well, look, we can give you the Oceania spot, but you've got to potentially field players from that region. So that's an interesting one, I suppose. One to keep your eyes on, though. And that's the thing, right? Unsure of who gets the Oceania spot now, because Order was the only org on the shortlist mentioned by multiple people. Now that others potentially on the card as well. Of course, Renegades have a great history of supporting that organization, but I don't really think they're necessarily too well liked by Riot Games. But maybe they changed their mind, right? Because they would be an organization that, of course, would be willing to come in and represent that region. But they might say, right, well, look, we can give you, let's say, an organization that got rejected, like even from a North American organization, right? Maybe a version 1 or the Guard or something get rejected for franchising. They can be like, well, look, if you want to come to the APAC League and represent the Oceania region, you can do it, right? We'll give you the spot there. So maybe that's what they're going to say to many organizations until someone accepts. Let's talk M3C, formerly Gambit, of course, winners of, Masters 3 last season. And these guys are potentially joining a new organization, right? There were rumors, okay, Cloud9, G2, what would these guys do? Probably Cloud9 was probably off the cards anyway, but still, the possibilities were there for these guys to get picked up. They failed to make champions, got very close, but lost, of course, to Liquid online. And that's the thing with it being online, right? Because, look, ping-wise, it's going to be less ideal for these guys than it was for Liquid, more than likely. So, tough scenes, really. But, going into next season, I think they still probably want to run it back together. But what organization gives them a chance? Especially because the organizations that should be giving them a chance, I'm guessing, will be ones that get into franchising. But Bodork here says, Moist, that is the tweet. And I think I even mentioned Moist Esports as like a joke a couple of days ago here, honestly. But Shados even tweets this out, as we can see here. So he kind of tweets out the wave emoji and kind of looking at it in a kind of spicy way, indicating potentially that there could be something to do with this, especially because Moist Critical was actually interviewed by Jake Lucky at Rocket League Worlds, where he discusses in this interview, like, a feature, he doesn't really say much in it, but he basically says, Jake asks him, like, are you expanding into new esports? And he says, well, yeah, stay tuned for that one. We've got some interesting things planned outside of in esports that we're not currently operating in. And apparently, this might be the case, which is like, I don't really understand it though, because going into next season, M3C, of course, want to be a team probably in the EMEA franchise league, right? They're going to be one of these organizations that gets into franchising. Moist Esports, regardless of how well they've done the last few weeks, they're not going to get into franchising, right? So I don't really understand this unless like they pick these guys up for the off season and play in kind of the kind of tier 2 tournaments before then selling them on to a bigger team. I don't really know what's going to happen here, but for some reason everyone's been talking about this. It's got to be bait, surely. But expect the unexpected. And for some reason this Moist M3C type thing is actually potentially coming to reality. Who knows? Intrigued to your thoughts on that one in the comment section below for sure. But that's the thing, franchising is coming up. Like, there isn't necessarily time for some of these players to to kind of rest on their laurels a little bit, as Hayes says here from NRG. For young players with professional aspirations, the next 4 months is the time to show you are good enough. Teams will be on the lookout for new talent. If you aren't grinding and playing the small tourneys, don't expect a shot at a pro team. Good luck, he says. And that's the thing, right? Other players, even experienced and pedigreed players, are going to have to think of a similar thing. This is the key question about Sinatraa. We have been wondering when, if ever, is Sinatraa going to get a chance again back in the league. We thought that with Sentinels making changes, somehow even qualifying for the LCQ that they got lucky to do because Ghost Gaming absolutely, flopped hard at the playoffs, right, for stage 2. But when they were looking to make changes, I was thinking, okay, well, look, is it time that Sinatraa makes the return? He's done, he's kind of done his training or whatever he had to do for the Riot side. He's allowed to compete again. Whether Riot want him to compete again, that's another question, but they have allowed him to. Now, and I thought maybe Sentinels would decide to pull the trigger and say, okay, yeah, look, we'll bring Sinatraa back because Campeki was there. I never really thought that was a long-term idea. But the fact that they brought Shroud in, right, and they brought in, of course, Zelsis, which I think was a good move, but Sinatraa stayed on the bench and Zoms was never brought back in, thought was pretty interesting, to be honest. Now, Stewie says this, Stewie2K, of course, saying, this great match between Sentinels and Thieves got me thinking about, what if a Wardell, Sabrosa, Brack, Sinatraa, Stewie2K team could be a possibility. And Sinatraa has many times and has now reaffirmed his intentions to come back and compete again. He said this on stream a couple of days ago during the finals of the North American LCQ, where he says, yes, look, this meta suits me pretty well, Zom says, but also, look, he does intend to return for franchising.
It has, again, with a bit of uncertainty into the round.
Only side player picked a rate. Bro, this is literally the perfect meta for you, Jay.
Ends up Bang, who was that other player who was flanking and now just left.
Bro, Raze and Fade. You can literally play Raze on like almost every map. It's like actually insane.
And that is
I'll wait for the franchising.
Really great read from the guy.
Alright, you heard it here first. He's waiting for franchising.
And I believe that's the first time in the series that 100 Thieves have failed to go on a streak after a timeout.
So of course, look, Sinatraa wants to come back for franchising. The thing is here, though, is if you're an organization in franchising, of course, you've got the support of Riot, you've got the partnership of Riot, and well, therefore, you're going to want to build a team and make sure you actually show some return, and also show that you can do things not just competing well, right? Like, Riot wants to see organizations that aren't just there to win tournaments, but are also there to support various scenes and also create great content and promote Valorant in the best way they possibly can. Signing a guy like Shroud was obviously great for Sentinels for reasons just like that, and signing Sinatraa, if another team were to be able to do that, like, and of course Sentinels could technically bring them back himself, because no guarantee Shroud will stay on there. I would say that still, if there is one organization that Sinatraa will compete for, Sentinels is probably the most likely still, because do other organizations really want to risk it, especially because these orgs have just been confirmed into franchising with Riot. Riot have taken a good chance on them, and now they, okay, you're going to sign Sinatraa, Riot might not be too happy with you as a result, but then again, they've just confirmed you as a partner, so why not, I suppose? Especially if he is allowed to compete and Riot have given it the A-OK. So I don't really know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Sinatraa wants to return, of course. I do wonder, because Shroud wasn't convinced, it seems, that he'll be back on this team next season. And of course, look, Sinatraa, Shroud, different roles, right? They'd have to change things around a little bit, but maybe there's a world in which they can make it work. And even if not, then other organizations surely at some point will consider getting Sinatraa onto the team. He wants to make it happen, still can be one of the most talented players in the region, and that maybe the kind of support that Riot will give to these teams after they've actually decided to make them partners will make them think, well, damn, you know, why not we go above and beyond and get Sinatraa on the book? So interesting one for sure. Definitely intrigued to your thoughts on all this in the comment section below. And just to finish out with this, I thought was some pretty crazy numbers. The average viewership of matches for, well, different teams, of course. Now, look, this, it doesn't really tell the whole picture, because of course OpTic and Loud, given they've been in finals of tournaments like Masters 1, are going to have higher average viewership than others. But I mean, look, Zeta Division is honestly just built different, and Sentinels, in fairness, way higher than the rest, even considering the fact that they haven't necessarily been in too many massive finals here in 2022. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.